The Mystery of the Red Dot, Chapter 3. Several years ago, I had a friend. We'll call him Mike. We grew up close, and he often confided in me about his problems. One issue in particular troubled him so deeply that he simply could not let it go. Mike had married his pastor's youngest daughter and moved into a house his father-in-law had built for them. At first, everything seemed fine. But about a year into the marriage, problems arose with her family. He found his in-laws intrusive and overbearing. Without going into necessary detail, the situation deteriorated badly. After 10 years of conflict, he finally moved his wife and 3 children far away. Mike became bitter over the way he had been treated, and it didn't take long before his bitterness became painfully obvious. No matter the topic of conversation, he would steer it back to how he had been wronged and how justified he was in being angry. He felt defeated, mistreated, and, worst of all, that justice had not been served. It reminded me of an experience my wife and I once had with our plumbing. One day we heard the unmistakable sound of water draining from our bathtub, but when we checked, the tub was empty. Still, the draining continued, as if invisible water were endlessly pouring out. We were baffled. A plumber friend explained that our bathtub was the lowest drain point in the house. Any water escaping the system would eventually end up there. We searched everywhere for leaks. Walls, attic, yard, nothing. For days, we endured the maddening sound with no clue what caused it. Finally, we thought back to what had happened the day it began. The only unusual thing was that the pilot light on the water heater had gone out, and I had relit it. But how could that cause this? Still, having exhausted every other idea, we checked the water heater. Kneeling with a flashlight, I noticed I had turned the temperature all the way up. At the bottom of the tank was a valve labeled "Caution, High Pressure Valve," and beneath it, an overflow pan with a drain pipe leading out. The water had overheated and boiled, building pressure inside the tank. Pressure always seeks the path of least resistance. In this case, per its design, it was the high pressure valve. The valve opened, releasing water into the pan, which drained to the bathtub, the lowest point. The bitterness in Mike was much like the pressure in that tank. We are not designed to withstand long-term bitterness. It must escape somewhere. Mike vented through conversation, repeating the same grievances almost word for word. He wasn't seeking counsel. He was seeking affirmation, justification for his hatred. Eventually, friends grew weary of being the pressure valve, so the pressure found its lowest point, his wife and children. When he had no one else to vent to, they suffered most. They became his ultimate drain point. We've all felt that kind of pressure. Our teeth clench, our fists tighten, and we can almost feel our blood boiling. We punch pillows, kick the dog, snap at innocent bystanders, or unload on a sympathetic ear. Meanwhile, the world around us is forced to endure the sound of our draining. Jesus once told a story about a servant who owed his master a great debt. When he couldn't repay it, he begged for mercy. The master forgave him completely, but that same servant went out, found a fellow servant who owed him a much smaller amount, and demanded payment. When the man begged for more time, he refused and threw him into prison. When the master heard what had happened, he said, "How can you, after refusing to forgive a much smaller debt, come to me expecting forgiveness? You wicked servant." And he handed him over to be punished. One cannot hate for hate's sake. We need a reason to hate. We must justify it. If my hatred is unfounded, how can I cling to it? So I must prove myself the innocent victim. If I am innocent, then my hatred feels righteous. But if I demand justice for others while excusing myself, how can I expect mercy? We all tend to overlook our own faults. It's not that we don't see them. We know we're not perfect. But if we expect others to overlook our shortcomings, why can't we extend the same grace? Judgment is a two-edged sword. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you shall be judged. Matthew 7:1 and 2. Consider the woman caught in adultery. The religious leaders dragged her before Jesus, hoping to trap him. The law says she should be stoned, they said. What do you say? Jesus knelt and wrote in the dirt. Then he stood and said, Let the one without sin cast the first stone. One by one, they walked away. Where are your accusers? He asked her. They are gone, my Lord. Then neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. John 8, verses 3 through 11. Here we see the heart of God, a heart eager to forgive. But as soon as we justify our hatred, how can we receive that forgiveness? This is why Jesus taught us to pray, Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. A heart filled with hatred can neither give love nor receive it. At some point, we must move past the hurdle of our wounded pride and learn to accept others. If only we could see God's heart toward us, how deeply He knows us, how fully He loves us, how earnestly He offers us a new beginning. And His forgiveness, our old lives are gone. We can start fresh with a long-suffering God who is willing and able to sustain us. He longs to teach us true love, not the counterfeit versions we settle for. Watch what God does, and then you do it, like children who learn behavior from their parents. Mostly what God does is love you. Keep company with Him and learn a life of love. Observe how Christ loved. His love was not cautious, but extravagant. He didn't love in order to get something from us, but to give everything of Himself to us. Love like that. Ephesians 5:1 through 2, the Message. The whole world suffers from nothing less than a lack of love. Children go hungry. Lives are destroyed by war. Economies collapse under the weight of greed. All of it to the fruit of ignorance of God's call or outright rebellion against it. The kingdom of God is not of this world, but it is not some distant place we hope to reach after death. It is here and now. Its citizens are those who embrace love, seek truth, and, having found it, live as though they've discovered treasure beyond measure. We live in a generation where evil is called good, and good is called evil. A man who sleeps around is celebrated. A man who serves God is mocked as though he's missing out. But the philanderer is defiling himself, giving away his body as though it were cheap. He ignores the pain he leaves behind and the women he uses. So what then is the better way? This concludes Chapter 3. Look for Chapter 4 soon.